Seguimos en Futurecom 2011 con más entrevistas y esta vez nos acompaña Charlie Vogt, que es el presidente para la empresa Genband. Charlie, welcome to Telesemana.
Well, thank you for the invite.
Thank you for being here. So tell us what your company is discussing here at the show, given the fact that everybody's kind of looking at how you guys are integrating the Nortel assets within your portfolio and how that has been progressing since that acquisition here in Latin America.
Well, our vision and strategy hasn't changed in the last 7 years. We've been very focused on network transformation, network convergence, and network optimization. And the CVAS acquisition was a nice complementary fit for Genband with our existing product portfolio. Clearly, it gave us more scale in places like Europe and CALA. And so, it increased the size of the company by about threefold. But it wasn't the first large acquisition that Genband has made over the last several years. So it's part of our long-term strategy, but it hasn't changed our vision and our long-term strategy.
Okay. Now, the fact that you are buying a company like Nortel or other companies with different assets, and obviously you are growing your company very quickly because you are absorbing those clients that Nortel used to have or the other companies used to have. On top of that, has the company, what they say that the parts are, combined are larger than when they are separately. I don't know how the expression is in English, but have you seen that not just that you have grown because of the acquisition, but that has resulted in even a bigger growth?
Yeah, I think what made Nortel so successful for us, if you look at North America, we shared a lot of the same customers, and so there was a lot of value in abstracting more from the same existing customers with a larger product portfolio. If you look at places like Europe, Middle East, Africa, CALA, those are regions where Genband simply just didn't have the footprint. We didn't have the scale, we didn't have the large professional services and deployment arm. And one of the things that we don't talk enough about is, the capabilities that service providers are requiring from companies like Genband as it relates to services. And so the service arm was quite a good addition with this acquisition. From a product portfolio perspective, I think the two companies came together very complementary in what Genband already had in its NGN portfolio versus what Nortel had. The integration's gone very well. We closed last April, and we're now completely integrated. I think one of the biggest surprises that we got out of the Nortel transaction was just how quickly the employees adopted our culture, and a culture that's very entrepreneurial, very opportunistic, very customer focused, and I think that's been one of the most valuable aspects of what came out of this transaction.
Okay, so if Latin America, you were in Latin America prominently before the Nortel acquisition, what percentage of your business has suddenly coming from Latin America since then?
Well, I'll answer it in two parts. One, when you look at places like China, you look at places like India, CALA is one of the fastest growing regions in the world. You look at the population, it's growing 16%. Over the last 10 years, it's grown 16%. If you look at just mobile subscribers, I think CALA's grown about 900% over the last 10 years. Even fixed wireline has grown faster than any other region. So when I look at CALA as a region and how it's comparing to the other regions around the world, it's outpacing virtually every region. So it's a very exciting region for us. For us, it represents about 10% of our business and is one of the fastest growing regions. We're currently today aligned and doing business with all the service providers that you would expect us to be aligned with, from Telefónica to Oi to Portugal Telecom, GVT. And so, CALA's got our attention.
Okay. So if today is 10%, what are your projections or your goals internally in terms of how much can this grow?
I mean, it's still small. So, when I look at percentages, I look at them, realistically, in that when you're growing from 1 million to to 10 million. It's a lot easier than going from 10 million to 100 million. And today, Cala represents about $80 million in revenue for us. We think we can double that over the next several years. We've increased our resources in the region, both from a sales, marketing, and operations perspective, and I think that's what it needs. So I think that our products and our solution are matching up and aligning with where Cala is as a region as it relates to their timing from transforming their TDM switches to IP and converging fixed networks with wireless networks. And so our theme around IP transformation and fixed mobile convergence is, I think, very well aligned with the region.
How would you describe the IP transformation in Latin America and compare it to other regions? What is happening and where we are at this point?
I would say that Latin America is behind. I think the reason for that is there's been so much focus on the mobile subscriber growth. But clearly, as I talk to a lot of the service providers in the region, I think they all recognize that they have old legacy TDM switches that are creating a lot of risk in the network, and it's becoming a top initiative. So I think while the region is a little further behind than some, I think that what's exciting is that the region recognizes that it's an opportunity, and they're focused on it.
Do you feel that in Latin America, this is just an opinion, perhaps you need to do more integration with existing systems, because perhaps in the US, when an operator decides to, move to IP, they phase out much quickly their old infrastructure than in Latin America, or you feel that the
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. I think that the ecosystem and the interoperability with IP is much different than it was with TDM. In the days of TDM, everything was very proprietary. It was one vendor that you selected for end-to-end solution. In today's network evolution, the cooperation with other suppliers has never been more high than it is now, and so that ecosystem and that partnership, even though it may be a competitor, is required to fulfill the expectations that the service providers have. So I would say, Genband grew up working with companies like Ericsson and Alcatel and Nokia, Siemens, and others, and we're finding that has now become very beneficial because we've established those relationships. We now understand where we fit and how we complement what they're doing both on the